Okay, the first category is contemporary artistic. 2-star, Big Buddha, silver.
Yes, I'll be honest, I like this image very, very much. The reason why I liked it was we always ask our members to be very wary if you photograph somebody else's art. And this is somebody else's art. But I was of the opinion that this author went to the trouble to make it their own art. You can see here in the body and everywhere else, there's added texture, which really, really makes it such an interesting image. And it's the same with the background. I really love that background with the different textures. And this really shows that this photographer is now thinking about his or her photos and what is presented. And I really like this route, and I would recommend that you keep it up. That's great. Keep it up.
LCB Detroit, 5-star, Stormy Night, Gold Award.
Well, it's a great image there, LCB. Well done. I must say that when I saw this image, I was quite enamored by it. I thought it was a great effort. You've done a lot of work in getting these elements to work together in a very nice and pleasing image. And there are a lot of very strong points in it that just enhance it. Leading lines, your exposure, and just the overall mood of the image, to me, creates a sense that you're trying to convey of the stormy night with this person. You wonder whether there's someone that's out there on another boat or what's going on. So very interesting and a good effort. Well done.
LCB Detroit, 5-star, Fired Up, Gold Award.
Well, again, a very nice image. I think that the mood that you've managed to create is really what gives it impact. It appears that the guy's spinning it. You have the two models engaging with the photographer. I think that the panoramic crop really adds to the overall value of it. Nice exposure, and it's a nice story. That's important. Well done.
The next category is macro. Julie Eisenberg, 2-star, Collecting Pollen, Gold Award.
Well done, Julie. Well done. What I really, really liked about this is that you understood the value of your, I'm not sure, but I think the bee would have been your main subject. The fact that the eye is sharp, the head is sharp, but you've also got a sharpness on the flower where you've got it. And so that's really, really an interesting, well thought out image. I love the composition. I love the placing of the bee where you've got it coming into the flower, so it's drawing the attention to the flower. And then, of course, your beautiful, beautiful diffused background. Well done. That's really a nice image.
Next category is monochrome. Tim Gould, Master Bronze, Warrior Queen, Gold Award.
Well done, Tom. Very interesting image. I really like your portraiture that you do, and you've certainly excelled with this mono conversion. I like the way that your model's been presented. It's a nice balance in the way she's been placed in the image. And it just gives one a sense of intrigue and wonder what's going through her mind as you look at her as the subject, and all the things that need to be there, the exposure, the sharpness, all of the detail. It's very good. Well done.
Ian Taylor, Master Bronze, Setting Off on the Chase, Gold Award.
Well deserved award again, beautifully captured. What particularly makes it interesting is your conversion to monochrome and the fact that you managed to separate the the subject from the background, holding one's attention. And that's really the fact that you've got movement in it. It's well exposed, beautiful focus, and well captured. Well done.
Jane LaRue, 2-star, black and white Maasai, Gold Award.
There we go, unmuted. I want to say, Jane, I really like this image. I love the storytelling. First of all, I think it was very clever to convert it to mono because you have a very, very bright background. But having converted it to mono, it actually makes your subjects just pop right out. And then, but the story about it is, I love that figure in the background, the woman in the background. And it just leaves you wondering, who is that? Is it a stranger? Is it the mother, wife? Who is that? So your storytelling is good, and so is your conversion to monochrome. Well done.
Van Behrens, Master Bronze, Bridge, Moshes Ford, Gold Award.
Well done, Fawn. I must say, I'm glad I'm commenting on this image. I was really intrigued and very much impressed with the capture here and with your placement, the way you've got those lines that lead you down into the distance, the other side of the bridge, and then you can see that road going up and carrying on up there, probably up to the left and maybe around that head, the copy or whatever it is up there, and it just makes you wonder where you're going to go to if you go down that road. And the detail in the image, your conversion to mono, the rivets all stand out. It's a really good composition and a good conversion. And I must say, it leaves one thinking, where does that road go to? And that's the kind of thing you want in your image. Well done.
Henry Opper, Master Silver, Touchdown, black and white, Gold Awards.
Wow, well done, Henry. I love this image. Clever to convert it to mono because you have got so much detail in the feathers and in the wings and so much texture that it really, really lends itself to this mono conversion. And then that eye, I mean, you trained, your focus point was on that eye, on that head, despite the movement. I just love that eye, despite the fact that it's in front of the wing, is so open sharp, lovely. And then you've pushed the muted background, doesn't distract at all being in this mono conversion. So well done.
2-star, Plant Decor, Silver.
That's me. 2-star, 9, Silver. Seems like I've got my score on. Oh, wait, I'm looking at the wrong image here on my score. No, okay. Yeah, an interesting image and a good effort. Why not a higher mark, one might ask? And to me, I think the author has done very well to get the difference between the darks and the brights, and there's good separation in the background. But it does seem a little bit on the overexposed side. Some of those whites are maybe a little bit too bright. But otherwise, the textures, the shapes, and the repetition are all good elements in this image. And well done for the effort. Perhaps try and soften those whites a little bit, and you could get a better mark. Well done.
Master Silver, Corp de Flora Belly, Silver.
Well, I think the author presented us with a little bit of, what do you call it, graphic art in it. This is the type of image that I would enjoy having on the wall. And that's really what one strives for, is you're trying to elicit and a positive response, or any response. Hopefully it's a positive. And in my case, this is positive. So there's a lot of repetition, but they do seem to blend in. I like the fact that the separation and there's no background that distracts me. There's still a certain amount of texture in the plant. And maybe why I did not get a higher score is maybe just a little crop on the top left-hand flower or the bud there, and maybe that made it a little bit uncomfortable. But overall, I think a very, very pleasing image. Certainly encourage the author to continue presenting work like this. Well done.
Corinne Behrens, 5-star. Rose and Vase in Mono, Gold Award.
Yes, I must say I really, really love this image. There's a calmness about this image, a tranquility that you don't often see. And I just love that. And I love the different textures. You've got the texture in the foreground, you've got the texture in the vase, there's even texture in the background. And then you've got your rose, which is, it's got its different textures. I like the conversion to mono, and I feel that really lends to the appeal of this image. Gives it there's a wistfulness about this. There's something that would almost be sad about it. I feel this image is deserving of the merit class. So what I would, if I was the author, what I would do, Corinne, try and just get a little bit of space on the left-hand side of that rose. Try and alter your composition slightly so that it's not so tight on the left-hand side. It's a little bit more room. Just get some more room in there. Just step back a few centimeters or turn your lens slightly to left, maybe you have more. If you do what you did with this same processing, then I see a very, very good score.
A 1-star. Paradolia, Elephant Face, Silver.
I must be honest, when I saw this image and I saw that word pareidolia, however you pronounce it, I thought, wow, what is that? Is that the type of tree or whatever? So I went and looked it up in the dictionary, and then I got the meaning of it, which is to see a image within the image that you see, and it is an elephant face. And when I looked at it like that, I could see perhaps the trunk, a small branch sticking out of the mouth, and then further up the eye, etc. And I was quite intrigued by it and thought, well done, for a 1-star to come up with this kind of concept and thought process is really something that we'd like to see happening in the club. And I think we should nurture this. So well done for your effort, and great attempt at entering something like this. There are a few things that I could say that might improve, and that is, it might not work as well if you change the angle of how you took that image. But some of the images on the right-hand side of that, or the background with those leaves and the dark spots there, are a little bit distracting. But that's the image that you took, and well done for doing it, and keep up that work. It's really exceptional.
Toy Skellen, 4-star. Storm Waves, Gold Award.
Well done, Toya. Congratulations on this gold. It's really a striking image, certainly full of drama and impact. And again, that's what one wants. So the figures in the spray there is really what holds there. The three on the left, and then the one on the right running away from the wave, I assume. And one shouldn't assume, but just looking at it, you say, oh boy, you better get going. And so it tells a complete story of the spray, the rough seas in the background. I would suggest that maybe a border would help this image and just ground the rocks. And one can leads one's eye to the actual subject. But all in all, a very pleasing image. It's a very stark image, but full of drama. And you've captured it and presented it beautifully. Well done.
Julie A. Smith, 2-star, Zebra, Merit Award.
Well, Julie, I was really, really impressed with this image because, wow, your exposure is fantastic. Now, seriously, to have the black and white together that you get in the zebra, that's why so many people come short, because the whites are so often overexposed and the blacks underexposed, and they become dull and lifeless. And you have got so much life and so much texture and so much detail in this image. It is really a beautiful image. And in fact, I don't know if you've ever entered a salon yet, but why don't you enter this in the next salon under the Mana version, and let's just see how you do. Imagine how proud we'd be of you if you actually got an acceptance. So give it a go. If you don't know what to do, get out with me and I'll talk you through it.
4-star, Nursing Baboon, Monochrome, Silver.
Very interesting subject matter, and well done on capturing it with that little baby there, nursing in its mother's arms. Certainly captured some very good detail in the baboon with the hair sticking out like that and maybe blowing in the wind. A lot of good things going in the image. However, the branches and those sticks in the left lower corner are quite distracting. And also, perhaps in comparison to the previous image, the handling of the blacks in this baboon are maybe a little bit too dark, which makes it at almost quite a harsh rendition. And then also a little bit of space perhaps in front of the baboon's nose where it's looking out, although your subject is more on that infant. But well done for the effort. And yeah, perhaps a different crop a little bit of the bottom off, that might also help. But well done anyway.
Next category is Nature Wildlife. 5-star, Seeing Double, Silver.
Sorry, I'm fast asleep here. My apologies. So the title certainly got me going, Seeing Double, and it's beautifully described and all that. Looking at the image, I think it's just too much water in the foreground. So it's a case of where you want to draw the viewer's attention. If the object was to get both the reflection and the slip, then I think you could still crop off a lot of the water below the reflection and maybe allow some more space if your original image allows you to do that. So in the horizontal crop, or the portrait crop here, I think it is designed to draw one's attention to that. But I just find it a little bit too much blue, too much water at the bottom and the silver reflection. Whereas I'd like the eyes to be drawn to the original running with a green, beautiful background.
Tim Gould, Master Bronze, Pate Smile, Gold Award.
Oh, Tim, this Tim is such a stunning image. Well done. I absolutely love it. I just love the detail. I just love the story value. I love, what I really, really love is that you put the light just in the right place. She was coming out of the shadow, and either she just lifted her head or she was just moving into the light, and you put the light where you should, and the eyes are in the light. And you've got this brilliant color, the eyes are sharp, lovely catch light. but there's so much going on below that it's not detracting at all, and you still see all the detail. And what adds value is that lovely muted background. So well done. It's a really, really super image.
Sandy Rangers, 1 star. Young Predator, Merit Award.
Well done, Sandy. This is an exceptional image. For a 1 star, you really captured this so well. And congratulations on your merit. I really like the way you've captured this young hyena with that pose, the way it's looking back, makes you wonder, what is it looking at? Are its siblings around? Is its mother around? And you've really handled the exposure, your detail, and the sharpness on the image is really stunning. So you've done so well with this. I think to push it into the next level, maybe a little bit of the highlights, if you drop that down slightly, got a little bit more contrast, you would have got a 15 out of 15, but an excellent effort. Well done.
Ian Taylor, Master Bronze, gliding on the thermal, Merit Award 15 out of 15.
Well, fantastic image and well-deserved unanimous merit. That is always very satisfying when you do have it. Excuse me. So not having had the advantage of having a preview of the images, this is the first time I've seen it, so I always talk about separation and impact. And this is a perfect example of that. You have a bird in flight that's beautifully presented with a background that doesn't compete with it at all, and it actually enhances the whole image. And it's very easy to say, beautiful image, well done. But I think it's important for everybody else to actually just have a good look at it and look at the exposure, look at the texture on the feathers, look at the highlight in the eye, sharpness throughout. And that is now a perfect example of what we try and achieve when we get to this stage. Well done, Ian. Great image.
Arona Selshop, Master Bronze, Flying High, Gold Award.
Oh, really nice one. Yes. Another one of these beautiful eagles flying. Actually, this is a vulture, sorry.
Sure.
Sorry, now I'm off asleep. Yeah. Well done. Once again, I like the muted background. I like the fact that it's pretty sharp throughout. I like the composition. I love the angle, and I love the fact that you've left space for your subject to move into. So all in all, a very pleasing image. Well done.
Master Bronze, Tir Buscat, Silver.
What a lovely capture of a serval, and to see it in the day, what a privilege. Great detail in that face. Lovely little pink tongue sticking out there. So yeah, well done on your image. Yeah, what else can we say? The background is nicely diffused. Well done.
Henry Opper, Master Silver, Want to Play, Merit Award.
Well done, Henry. The award speaks for itself. What lovely action. What a beautiful story. It's just, this is one of those images that just make you feel good within yourself. It just makes you wish you'd been there and that you'd seen it. Just makes you so happy when you take wildlife photographs that you actually do, because this is just getting you right back to nature. It's just such a pleasing image, this one. I love it. Well done.
Shark Selshop, Master Silver, Ach, Please Daddy, Gold Award.
Well done, Jacques. I really like your capture here. You've got this action going on between these two females here, and they really looking at this fish with, I suppose the one at the back is saying, where's my go at this? I also want to have a bite. But well done on the detail, nice diffused background. I like your composition, well done.
Kathy K, Master Gold. Jacana, sticking tongue out, Gold Award.
Nice one, Kathy. Certainly presented a rendition of the Jacana in a completely different pose to which one normally sees. And as that makes that more interesting. And it's quite interesting to note the tongue. Those are things that you don't normally notice, especially when you're sitting behind the lens and shooting away. So it's captured, it actually shows a different side of the bird completely, than the ones that we're used to. Maybe a wee but very tight at the base, but what it's done is it's just draws one's attention to the actual bird. Exposure is great on there. It's a beautiful focus and this beautiful soft background. A very pleasing image. Well done.
Leslie Upper, 5-star, on top of the trunk, Gold Award.
Yes, Leslie, I really, really liked this image when I saw it. First of all, it's just so exciting to find a cheetah in a tree or on a trunk like this because it really adds value. Of course, there's a beautiful angle for the start of the image, and you've got a lovely lead in with the tail. I particularly like the background. I like the light in the cheetah's eye. There's a really nice story, and you can see when you look at that cheetah, it's on the move, it's on the hunt, it's looking for something. There's action going on here, and that really adds value. Well done.
Tony K, 4-star, magnificent specimen, Merit Award.
Hey, Tony, well done, man. That's a great image. Well done indeed. I love your color. I love that background, nice and diffused. This line, the sharp detail, the expression, the eyes are pin sharp. Just such a lovely capture. Well done. Good effort.
4-star, eyes focused, Bronze Award.
Kathy?
I'm so sorry, I keep on muting myself and then I forget to unmute myself. So what I love about this image is the clarity, the detail, the sharpness, the look in the eye, there's a story going on here, and I just love the head, I just love the face. So why not a higher mark? Because there's such good possibilities here. Well, I think when you work with an image like this and you want to use an image, be very, very wary when you do certain things. You don't, of course, repeat patterns like these flowers that are repeating themselves here on the left-hand side of the image and the leaves. We understand that there can be distracting elements in the background, so why not a touch of crop on this image? Why not crop on the head and crop all that nonsense out? And you will have such an amazing image. Or better still, because this image has got such potential, it's such an amazing image, why not enter it in open and really, really work nice on the background? Or even change the whole background completely. You'll see on the back rump there with that dark shadow there. Just be careful of that, because unfortunately it draws your eye straight in and then it loses value as a nature image. So rather, as I suggested, come in tight and get rid of your distractions that way with cropping, or make it an open image and get rid of your distractions in the right way.
Some gold, master bronze, mealtime, gold award.
I think I skipped one there, so I'll comment on this one. I'd like to, because it really is a study. It's a great image. The negative space in front there, just that's part of the image. That's how one sees them. If you look at the exposure on the bird, detail in the feathers,
Lovely,
sharp. Hello? And the fact that it's got prey in its mouth, that just completes the picture. It's really a very, very well presented image.
Sandy Ranges, 1 star, a flash of red, gold award.
Well done, Sandy. Another great image from you tonight, and you certainly have captured this woodpecker in all its glory and splendor. Not much one can say about it. Interesting that you chose a high key rendition with having such a bright background. I would have personally preferred a slightly muted background, perhaps not taking away from the high key, but perhaps dropping the highlights on it a little bit. And I think you would have had possibly a more appealing image, but notwithstanding that, it's nice and detailed, very sharp and well captured. Well done.
Kathy K, Master Gold. Lena looking for a meal, gold award.
Nice one, Kathy. It's always rewarding to capture birds in flight and get in lots of detail showing and exposure. In this case, you've managed to achieve all of that. I like the angle in which the bird's approaching, and the fact that it's looking at something very close to you or at you, just adds a little bit more presence to the image. If you look at the detail in the claws and the talons, it's all there. It's beautifully sharp, and there's nothing to compete with the image. In flight, nice image. Well done.
Leslie Opel, 5 star, take off, gold award.
Yes, well done, Leslie. That's one of the lovely things about the Kalahari is you do see quite a lot of the sector birds, but normally they're running away or flying away. It's very, very seldom that you see them coming towards you like this. And this is what I find is the most valuable part of this image. You've got such impact with that bird coming towards you like that and feet off the ground and taking off. And you work very well with the background because this is obviously in the valley with the grass and reeds behind. And because it's so nicely muted, it's really very acceptable. Well done, Liz.
Tony K, 4 star, the Big Thirst, gold award.
Hey, Mr. K, you're really stepping up here and showing us how to take these wildlife images. Well done. What a capture of this leopard. I don't know what it's been doing, but the water's dripping off it, and it's obviously been messing around in the water. You must have had some wonderful time observing this fellow, and you've really done well. It looks like that with that shadow that the sun was quite high, but you've managed to capture such lovely detail. Your exposure is good, and you've got that leopard looking straight at you, which always gives such a strong sense of being drawn into the image and becoming one with it. So you've done very well with your composition and the moment that you took that shot. So very well done.
Laura Opel, 4 star, looking for another meal, gold award. Kathy?
All right.
Again.
I haven't seen the image. I don't know that you've taken it, but I'll comment on it anyway. So, first of all, well done. You captured one of these animals. Obviously, it just had a kill, pull the prey apart and all that. But what makes it particularly interesting and striking is the absolute detail that you have in the face. And if you look at the eyes, how to improve this, I would certainly suggest that you crop it from the back of the halfway through the back and clear the area below the belly out. So that's what sort of almost like a bit of a trap there. If you give a tighter crop, cut out that sort of the background below his belly, then I think it would certainly make it far more interesting. There's more back than there's head and neck. So I would give it a tighter crop and draw one's eye to that. But as far as the exposure on the animal, the focus, the story is first class. Well done.
Sandy Rangers, 1 star. It's what I do. Merit award.
Well, Sandy, that is such a well-deserved merit. Well done. It's just so lovely to capture these bee eaters and to have it on that beautiful perch. Then you've still got the bee in the beak, and then your exposure is good because it looks like possibly you had an overcast day or something because it's not blue sky behind. And you've really, really handled it so very, very well. Well done.
Tony K, 4 star. Mom and Babies, Gold Award.
Tony, why am I commenting on all your images? Just the way it is, eh? What a wonderful sighting and what a great capture as well. And, you know, some people would say, that tree in the background is distracting and it's taking away. But I think it's actually providing a wonderful backdrop, giving you some really nice texture and just bringing out a lot of the detail in the foreground, because obviously the back is nicely diffused. And what a great thing to see 4 young cubs like this, and the little one in the front looking a little bit grumpy, but the other one certainly looking around and interested in their surroundings, and mom sitting there as regal as can be. Great capture and well done. I like the composition. Everything's ticked on these the boxes for this. Well done.
Next category is Pictorial. Roy Rose, Silver. And it's 5 star.
Well, for me, the colors and the composition and the format in which you presented it is quite striking. It's always something that you could have entered in the artistic contemporary as well, but in the open it works just as well. So why not a high mark? If I look at all the positives, you have the droplets, proper detail in them, it's in focus. There seems to be a bit of banding as far as the colors are concerned, and maybe oversaturated. But to me, the biggest problem are these highlights. And in the open division, those highlights are quite easily taken care of. And if you can get those out of the way, then it would be a far stronger image as presented. But other than that, I think it's an excellent job. Well done.
Ian Taylor, Master Bronze, Sitting in the Tree, Gold Award.
Oh, another one of those images where you think, I wish I'd been there. I just love the way this leopard is just looking at me right now. And it's almost like, it's not quite aggressive, but it's daring me because those claws are out. And that is a lovely story and a lovely capture, Ian. And it must have been so difficult with all this bush and trees and foliage. And you've handled it so well. Your exposure is 100% spot on because you don't have bright whites in the background. You've managed to get the sky. Very, very well done. I would just, if I were you, just to ensure that I got a merit, is I would take a little bit off the bottom of the image, because underneath the branch, you're seeing a little bit more of the leopard, a little bit of a leg that's now dangling somehow. So why not just crop just above the bottom of that branch? Then you don't see any of that. You see nothing. You eliminate some of these smaller branches at the bottom, and I'm sure you'll get a merit in this award. Well, definitely an acceptance.
Master Bronze, Old Post Office, Roads, Silver.
I really must compliment the author on seeing this image and capturing it. And I think it's a great image. I really like the different colors, the sort of gold, brown colors at where the wall is, and then the bright red contrasting with that bright blue. It really does stick out. And I also like the way that the lines of that corrugated iron come down and meet that in that little groove there, and there's the other lines opposing that, and then your strong vertical lines, and mimicked again in that diagonal of the gold. It all just works together so well. I would have preferred to have seen a little bit more of it, but I don't know what else might have been in the way, or something that was distracting you, or maybe affecting you from wanting to include more of the sides of the image. But I think with what's been presented, you've done very well. The exposure, the whites are not blown out in that little steeple, the inside piece there. And I think it's a really great capture. Well done.
LCB to Toy, 5-star. For Q, 15 out of 15 merit.
LCB, well done. Another unanimous merit. It speaks volumes. It means that everybody's in agreement that this is a fabulous image. And it takes one a while, when you look at it, you actually appreciate all the detail that you managed to get it. At first, it appears like the black gloves, it's just very black. And then slowly you start picking up details towards the arm or the elbows. You have different details in the black and the shiny bright parts on the gloves. But the contrasting colors, and obviously the colors, I don't know if it's intentionally, but it's Ukrainian colors, and that's very, very current right now. So I think it's a fabulous image. Well done.
Andres Foreman, Master Bronze. Juvenile, Martial Eagle, Kalakadi. Gold Award.
Right, so, Bori, how lucky, how lucky that you got this juvenile marshal where you did on that beautiful, perfect perch. You know, so often the juveniles, they're more in the trees and the bushes because they're sheltering all that. And this is a lovely stance with a really, really a lovely background. I really like the detail in this image. I love the exposure because these juvenile marshals are actually very light in their chest and their legs and all that sort of thing. And yet you've managed to capture the detail. So, well done.
Michelle Pearson, 5-star. Sorry. Delivery of Thorns, Merit Award.
Well done, Michelle. Another one of your great captures. Black-shouldered kite coming with the thorns there. You've done so well to capture it in flight, frozen that motion. I really like the detail of that thorn branch in its mouth, or in its beak, I should say, and the reflection on the wing. It really just gives a great composition, and it attracts one's eye to it, and overall such a pleasing image. Well done.
Charles Joseph, Master Silver, Ariel, Merit Award.
Well done, Jacques. What a fabulous idea. Obviously, you've given us a lot of thought, and the way you brought the model onto that web is just perfectly positioned. The exposure on the plant, of the flower, contrast with the purple and the orange and all that. And then where that negative space or the sort of darker space above the plant would have been very, very acceptable. The fact that you managed to add an additional point of interest has really made this a completely different to the normal one. Well done, you getting this one right.
5-star, Malva, Silver.
Yes, I like these sort of like semi high key images with a lighter background. It makes for interesting viewing, and you can see in this image, I really like the fact that you've got the 3 main flowers and you've got all the buds, which are pretty sharp all around it, and you've got that lead in with a stem. I think the only reason why this image did not get a gold was in the bottom right-hand corner, those leaves in there are competing with this beautiful, delicate flower. They're quite heavy and there's quite a lot of them. If you take them out, if you eliminate them and let the eye lead into these flowers, it'll be a totally different image. You'll maintain that softness which you usually manage to achieve when you do a high-key image. So keep that softness throughout and the sharpness where you want it in your flowers, and you'll see, you'll be very pleased with the results.
Kathy K, Master Gold. Sometimes it pays to look up. Gold Award.
Oh, well done, Kathy, and what a lovely sighting of another beautiful leopard. We're being spoiled with the leopards tonight, and you've really captured this with great skill, and you've dealt with the colors and the detail, and you've got great separation. I love the mood of that leopard, wondering what it's looking at. You leave us thinking all sorts of thoughts. What is it doing? What's its thought process, etc. So well done.
Leslie Opple, 5-star. My Red Frisbee, Gold Award.
You going to score, Henry?
Do you want me to?
No, I'm sitting too close to it, so I'm keeping my mouth shut.
I'd love to score this.
I'm far away. So I absolutely love this image. I don't know why you are scared of Leslie with this, because you can only say lovely things with this image. So well done. It's beautiful. First of all, I've just got to compliment you on the way you handle the whites of this foam and the white foam. That is absolutely fantastic, because you so often get blown out highlights and things, and it looks thick and rich and beautiful. And then you've got this dog, lovely position, and oh, can you believe it? A red frisbee in its mouth. I bet you were so excited when you saw that. Well done, Leslie. This is a beautiful image, and you really, really can enter it in the salon in the open section. I'm sure you will get an acceptance.
Julie Eisenbach, 2-star. Simply Beautiful, Gold Award.
Okay, sorry, I'll fast asleep again. Just taking a sigh of relief aside, I'll escape that one. So, to get back to the image in hand, quite an interesting presentation and concept of the flower. One can appreciate that there's some artistic endeavor here, and I think to a certain extent, the author succeeded. I think, Julie, if you, from a 2-star point of view, I think you're a master looking at this. So it shows that there was some some thought given to this, as far as the composition is concerned. Thought given to the focus, everything, clean presentation, and that's what we expect, certainly from the 1 and 2 stars in the beginning stage of the path and as a photographer. I think to give us a little bit more value, add more value to it, I would have liked to see the stem of the plant. So starting from somewhere, and if you look at the bottom flower, that starts, I would assume, from the bottom left and going up. And the top one, I would have expected to see another one. So if that's the case, then even if it was very, very subdued in the background, at least gives a base to the flower at the top, because right now they're both floating a bit. And I think just with a little bit of extra work and all that, you can actually get a great image. The lighting on the plant is almost perfect. I think at the highlights maybe a little bit too much, and the pulling back on the whites will certainly soften it up and also give you a lot more detail in the whites. But really a great effort and well done. Please keep on doing that.
5-star. Yacht op stofpad silver.
Well, certainly, I was in two minds when I looked at this. I thought, well, this is a bit of a complication for my brain to take in. But the more I looked at it and the more I thought about it, it's almost like a rendition or a depiction that one would see in DC Comics. And so well done to the author for the conversion that's made this Dune Master or Sand Master, buggy, whatever it is, the way you've processed this. It certainly does give it a lot of a different kind of appeal. And it certainly I think it's got place in the artistic and photographic world to bring those two things together and to experiment. It stretches one's imagination. A good effort. Keep it up.
Andres Borman, Master Silver, Giant Black, Gold Award.
Yes, Andres. It's just lovely to see these giant kingfishers. You were so lucky. And then once again, as I mentioned before, what a fantastic perch. I really, really, really enjoy the detail and the wings and the head and the eye and all that sort of thing. So super, well done. I was a little bit distracted by the very, very dark background. I'm not sure why it was so dark. I just felt if it wasn't quite so black, this image would have been worth the merits. So it just depends on your raw file, perhaps. Just look it over again and just see, because you want to do well with this image in the salon circuit.
Michelle Pearson, 5-star, Cheetah, Merit Award.
I hope it's me to go. If not, I'm jumping the queue anyway. First of all, again, just a great way of presenting the image in a completely different genre, and I think it is very, very successful. You have managed to catch a cheetah at, some would say, a compromising position, but that is what adds the value to the image as a whole. Cheetah's obviously very relaxed, rolling, getting rid of last sticks, etc. And then you manage to capture it where you've drawn its attention towards you. And that interaction between the photographer, the author, and the subject is always very rewarding. What I do like about this is that the background that you've chosen, or the composite that it is, that is always subdued, but it's similar tones to the subject. And I'm really enjoying the images that you present, and it certainly gets everybody up and say, we would like to give us the try. And that's really the object of the club, is that you encourage others, you inspire others, And with this sort of genre, that's what you certainly are doing 100%. Well done.
Michelle Pearson, 5-star, Descending, Merit Award.
Beautiful capture, Michelle. Lovely detail. I love that pose. I love your way that you've positioned it in the image, your crop, the exposure, sharpness, all the detail, etc. Just works so well. Great capture. Well done.
The next category is Portrait. 5-star, Trek Tafir Player, Silver.
Oh, well spotted. The moment I looked at this image, I just thought to myself, oh, how fabulous to have seen that. I mean, just the whole idea, playing with the accordion and that beautiful hat on the head and all that sort of thing. I think the only reason why this image got a silver, because it's not entirely suitable for the portrait category. In the portrait character, you would really want to lose some of these other elements that you've got all around it, like the north, south, east, west. Perhaps rather move to a position and cut that out and rather have more of her and more of the background and the bench. But this image would do so well in the open category or in the travel category or the photojournalism category or street photography or, there's a myriad of places, but it's not really, it is a portrait, but it's not strong enough against the other portraits that really score well. This is definitely in the wrong category.
Sandy Rangers, 1-star, The Stair, Merit Award.
Well done, Sandy. You are starting to explore the limits of your camera and understanding what it can do. So the exposure on the bird and the detail in the beak and the eye, the feathers, everything is spot on. And it tells me that you've actually exposed for the bird against maybe a dull sky, and that's why it seems to be very bright. But as far as the separation of the bird in the background, that's what you've achieved here. It's bin sharp. It is full of texture, and that's what you need. Well done. Great image.
Master Bronze in a Huddle, Silver.
Wow, lovely capture. Some more little hyena cubs sitting together, cuddled up here. Very, very nice detail, sharpness in the foreground, and a really interesting image. Why not a higher score? One doesn't want to be presumptuous and start saying things that are not there, but it does look like this background has been worked on. And if it is the case, especially on the top of the left-hand side of the top of that animal, one can see quite a bit of work that might have been done there. And it's if that is what's been done, I think that's possibly detracting from this image a bit. I think what we heard earlier from Kathy, it certainly is permissible in this category to do changes in the background, etc. But one needs to be so careful when you do it that it's not obtrusive and taking away from the actual image. Otherwise, a great capture.
2-star, Soul Gate of a Street Cat, Silver.
Yes, I really enjoyed this image because, first of all, those eyes, oh my goodness, are these eyes compelling and beautiful. It's hard to believe that it's a street cat. reminds me of almost of a Siamese throwback. So lovely, lovely image. I just feel possibly the only reason why you missed a top score is there definitely seems to be more sharpness on the nose. So be very, very careful on your focus point. Get that focus point on the eyes. If the eyes were as sharp as the little nose and the mouth, it would be really, really, really compelling. I don't mind the crop on the ears because you're just owning in on the face. But you could possibly just crop slightly bit more or leave or add a little bit more of the ears in. But to my mind, just focus on those eyes and this will be a phenomenal image.
4-star, Cheetah of Vanity, silver.
Wakey, wakey, Henry.
Sorry. Call a bit of brain fog. I'm trying to gauge the brain before I accelerate in the mouth. So let's get this right. So again, we're spoiled with cats tonight, all different poses. And that's always nice to see and get everybody going on that. So exposure-wise, I almost get to feel that it wasn't the ideal lighting condition. But even so, you managed to capture the exposure on the cheetah is spot on, even if it's been not ideal lighting conditions. Background is a little bit distracting on the upper side, and this being a open section, you can draw back on those or even darken it a little bit. For me, the main issue here is that it focuses right on the snout and all that, but then softens up towards the eyes. And in this category, I would prefer, or in any category, I think the eyes is really the important part. And I'd much rather see a softer nasal section and have detail in the eye. So possibly the author could go back on this one and do a little bit of work on those eyes, selective sharpening in Lightroom and all that. Play with the background, just tone it down. Even if you desaturate it a little bit, do something different to it. There's enough separation between the head and the background, but it just lacks a little bit of sharpness.
Next category is Escapes. Rona Selshop, Master Bronze, The Charm of Dawn, Gold Award.
Well done, Rona. What a beautiful capture and what lovely colors. Lovely detail in the dunes in the distance and lovely leading lines in the foreground. Interesting subject in the foreground with that green bush. And yeah, it's the kind of place one would love to go. I can just see my vehicle parking down near one of those trees and spending the night there, camping in the bush in the middle of the desert. What a lovely place to be. You've done well with your exposure and with your actual cropping, and that I like that wide angle, that panoramic view, and you almost got a sense the way that light's coming across that you might be looking at the ocean or something. But such a lovely and interesting image, very compelling. Great capture, well done.
Fern Barons, Master Bronze, Clouds at Sunrise, Gold Award.
Sorry, taking my time there and muting. Barn, you are becoming a master of the escapes. I absolutely just love your escapes. Very good exposure. By this, I mean the sun's almost risen, so you often then can get these blown out lights on your clouds and that, and you've just managed to handle it so very, very well. Possibly with a filter, I'm not sure. And then I love the fact that you've got foreground interest. You've got your focal point with the rocks, and then these rocks are acting as a lead in towards the sun. So your composition is simply amazing. You are really, really starting to nail the composition. The image seems slightly darker in the bottom left as opposed to the right. So I would pull a radial filter just along that bottom edge there, just to try and balance it a little bit. And I think if you do that with and then with a bit of contrast, this is an easy merit because the composition is absolutely outstanding.
1 star, Trainee Beach, silver.
I think for a 1 star, it is quite a pleasing attempt. What I like about this is that there's so much going on here, and the story about the beach and obviously dogs or people walking there, and that sort of tells a story in its own. And I'm not quite sure if the author tried to apply some type of filter on there to get the sun rays coming down. My advice normally would be when you do an image like this, you almost have 3 layers. You have the foreground, which is always good. And you have the middle ground, and you have the background. If the interest would be, or we prefer to draw the eye of the beholder onto the image, and it would be the foreground, and that's what you need to give more on the foreground. If it's the sky, then reduce the foreground and put more emphasis on the background. So certainly exposure seems to be spot on. There's not any harsh shadows. I would decide to where I want to draw one's attention to and then work accordingly. So maybe crop out some of the foreground or crop out some of the skyline and get your composition a little bit stronger and therefore maybe a better score.
Five star, Peru Bossis in the Berger, silver.
Hello, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can.
Sorry, I'm getting a funny noise here. Yeah, is it making a noise for you as well?
Yes, it is making a sound.
No, what? Wait.
Sounds like you've got a whole lot of total daisies in your room.
I don't know what's going on. Something weird's happening. All right, let me comment anyway. So, yeah, interesting image. I like the overall appeal on this image is quite something to behold. You've got great detail all the way to the back, right up to the top of that mountain peak. And you've managed to accomplish that, obviously, by selecting a very good aperture and getting great depth of field, or else you've perhaps focus stacked. But yeah, great image, lots of nice lines moving around back and forwards. I think Henry's comment on focusing on foregrounds, backgrounds, and middle grounds has value here as well, because half of the image is taken up by these bushes in the front, but that is the subject. So a great effort and a good image. Well done.
Next category is sport. Henry Opper, Master Silver, Green Surfer, Merit Award.
Oh, this is now a fantastic sport image, Henry. It's got everything going for it. First of all, the surfer with that beautiful green shirt. What more could you ask for? I love the action. I love the leading with the water. I love the fact that the sun is on your subject's face. And also, what I think what really, really backs this image is that board, tilted the way it is actually acting as a reflector and reflecting the face so nicely and the arms. It's giving you all the detail where you want it, the head and the chest and everything else. And then the leg and all that in a bit of shadow because you don't need all the detail there. So, wow, this is what you call perfect timing. Well done.
Next category is set subject, which was mood of the weather. 5-star, Sabi, dramatic clouds, silver.
Well, the author certainly managed to capture the mood of the weather in the clouds. There's certainly lots of drama in there, and very interesting. Why not a higher score? I would have preferred to see a little bit more in the foreground. It's just very tight around the bottom, and maybe just another 20 mil lower would have grounded the image. So the interest was in the sky, but you need to balance it. And I think a little bit more foreground from the bottom would have balanced it beautifully. But certainly interesting cloud formation, lots of drama, and you've met the brief in that regard.
Master bronze, caught in the downpour, silver.
Well, certainly a very interesting image. And one is really intrigued by this image of this person clutching that coat, and with this rainstorm beating down across her. And it leaves one with many thoughts that are intriguing. Why not a high score? It's difficult to say, but perhaps, and I thought, and I may be wrong, but my thoughts on this mood of the weather was more perhaps towards the weather than it was to people, but that was what my thoughts surrounding that were. But a great effort nonetheless, and keep up the good work.
Ian Taylor, Master bronze, clouds over Hout Bay, gold award.
Yes, this is a lovely capture of Hout Bay. You've managed to deal with the whites and the colours and the background really, really well. I just love all those yachts. It's just all that repetition is really adding value. But you've got the main focal point is that turquoise boat on the thirds there. But you have got these clouds coming in that are looking dark, are starting to look ominous. So there's definitely a promise of something that's coming, a possibility of rain or whatever it is. And that, of course, when you see weather like this, you judge the mood of it and you start making decisions. Clever one.
2-star, snow day, silver.
Interesting. I think it's a great image. It certainly does give one the mood of the weather. There's an approaching front. There used to be snow on the caps. Why not a high mark? Maybe it seems to be a little bit grainy. That's something that one can attend to. But as far as the composition is concerned, I think that the author has handled that pretty well. I like the shadowy clouds on there. And maybe that's where the confusion stops. Unless you've had a cloud directly above, the shadow on the foreground doesn't really make sense. If it is something that you have manipulated, it's quite easy to sort out that dark line coming from right to left in the bottom base, sort of on the green section there, lighten that up and get an even tone, and then maybe it becomes a little bit more balanced. But I must be honest, I quite enjoy this image. I think it meets it.
Rona Shop, Master bronze, Golden Gate Twister, silver.
That should be gold. Sorry.
Gold.
Sorry. Yeah, the clouds are certainly have a silver lining up there, but what an interesting capture. And I really like the way that one's eye is drawn to that circular movement up at the top, almost like waves about to break. But the overall image itself is got great balance. It's got a lovely grounded section with that gold field at the bottom, and then the centerpiece with the green mountains with the different shades of the sky above, and then certainly your eyes drawn back again to that very strong circular section at the top with the bright lights there, and certainly well handled with your exposure as well. Great capture, Rona. Well done.
Fine Barons, Master Bronze, Ominous Weather, Gold Award.
Yes, I really, really liked this image when I saw it. There's so much value in this image. First of all, as you can see, you've got these dark approaching clouds, and yet you've got a vibrancy in this image, and that's obviously there's an ominous light. And sometimes you see this light and you think, oh, was it a hailstorm coming? What's going to happen? And you've managed to capture this. You've got these beautiful lead-ins with the fence, with the grass, with the road, with the fields, all of that leading towards that house. So the imagination is instantly captured. You get to the house, then you've got that lovely background going on behind. So all in all, the composition of this image is very pleasing. And yes, you have managed to get the mood of the weather, because really, really, your lighting and your exposure has definitely shown us what that mood was. So well captured.
LCB du Toit, 5-star, Ray of Hope, Gold Award.
Well, nice clean image, LCB, and it does meet the brief as far as the mood of the weather. Certainly the way, also the effect that it has on the actual ocean with the clouds. I think it possibly, to improve it, what you could do is maybe just put a little bit more contrast in the skyline with a gradient filter, and that will draw one's attention to that sort of front and the back. And you can see that sort of orangey section over there. There you would want to bring out that sort of detail and also the contrast, and that will add a lot more drama to it. As it is right now, it appears to be a wee bit flat lighting-wise, and that's again something. It's an open division. You can play with it. It's a set subject. I think the image holds a lot more promise than the current scores given. A little bit of a work there, and I think make it a strong image.
Master Bronze, Ray and Ripples, Silver.
Yeah, certainly a great capture of this kingfisher, and I see it looks like some raindrops on the feathers at the back, and looks like a couple of diagonal lines, which could be the rain about to start. Yeah, the image itself is very pleasing and well handled as far as the exposure and the framing, etc., is concerned. But I think what may be the case is that it's not truly depicting the weather itself, and that might be what lets the score down on this.
Michelle Pearson, 5-star, Soggy, Gold Award.
Yes, with this bird being so wet, and the raindrops that you can see, and the definitely wet feathers that you can see, and that definitely looks like ominous grey clouds behind. This weather is kind of like showing us that it's bad weather and a shame, and the poor subject really, really is not happy. Likewise, I think, like Ian said, possibly the judges felt that it was too much about the enticing, beautiful subject and not enough about the weather. To be honest, my reason was not that at all. I liked the weather, but I just felt that it was just slightly over-processed around the head. It sort of like doesn't blend in nicely. Normally you extract beautifully when you work with your images, but this one I felt was a little bit untidy. There's such potential in this image. I feel cleaning it up, and this image could be worth a merit.
True star, those winter days, silver.
Well, there is a story in here, and some of us enjoy the inclement weather with a little bit of comfort food. And I think that's possibly what the author has tried to portray here. So as far as the actual image is concerned, of the cup of happiness there and some biscuits and the marshmallows, I think as a still life, that certainly works. As far as giving one credence to the actual brief, as was commented earlier on, is that one maybe like to see a little bit more of the inclement weather. So, for example, if this had been taken with the background being a window looking out at the stormy sea or inclement weather, then it would have made a lot more sense and fitted the brief a lot better than this. But as it's presented, the subject is well exposed, a couple of highlights that could be attended to, and the biscuits, everything else, but doesn't quite meet the brief. But I like the idea.
Master silver, afternoon storm over Fixbud, silver.
Well, a great and interesting image. One often sees these fields with this wonderful kind of pastoral scene with the harvester running and the farm house there in the background with the groups of trees and so on. Such an interesting and pleasing image. Certainly also one sees the cloud formation that is looking quite severe and serious. I would say it's met the brief, and for me, it certainly fulfills a lot of the requirements. However, I think the purple shade and tone is possibly a little bit unnatural, and it may have been something that you were trying to achieve. It may not. I can't say for sure, but I think if that was addressed and possibly toned down a bit, maybe the white balance pulled it a little bit on the sky from the blues, the cooler colors to a warmer color. It might have improved that, but that's just an opinion. But otherwise, a great image and well done.
4-star, thunderstorm brewing, silver.
Yes, what I really love about this image is the composition. This road that's leading up to this fabulous koppie and then veering off. You've got your telephone poles, you've got the grass, and there's nice texture and all that sort of thing. So, yes, I found that very, very interesting. I found the color weird because it's definitely not a mono. There is some color in, but it was almost like unrealistic. But that is fine because we do allow manipulation in this category, and I can see the authors probably tried to get this lovely alien effect, and the clouds are beautiful. I think possibly that just detracts slightly from it is the overexposed whites just around that koppie of the clouds. If they just weren't quite as overexposed, and the one in the top left-hand corner You can manipulate, so you could just have got rid of that white one, because the eye does keep on just going to those two spots when it should be concentrating on those lovely super clouds and stuff like that. So I think this basically has just been slightly over contrasted, and that has resulted in these whites that are too whites and a couple of the darks that are too dark.
The Kathy K, Master Gold, Angry Sky, 15 out of 15 merit.
Oh, well done, Kathy. The Merit Award says it all, unanimous. So this is the sort of idea that I think at 1A we're talking about the moods of the weather. It is the lightning strike perfectly timed, the colours in the sky, the contrast between that and the foreground, and the almost silhouette of the tree, which just balances the image out. Beautifully presented, nice and clean, and it meets the brief 100%. Well done.
Leslie Opel, 5-star, Approaching Storm, Gold Award.
Great capture there, Leslie. Well done. I really like this panorama view of this little homestead, farmhouse, whatever, and that dark clouds in the background, certainly looking like it's bringing in something quite serious in the way of a bit of a dust storm, rainstorm, possibly a mixture of high winds and what have you. I think you've really done well. It's the whites are not overexposed, but they stand out nicely. And it certainly anchors that image very nicely. And I like that red tanker, whatever it is that's there. It just adds a bit of interest in that color. So well done. A great composition, like the crop, that panoramic view. Well done.
Julie Eisenbach, 2-star, Rainy Days and Umbrellas, Gold Award.
Well, Julie, I actually just love this image because this I know we can't see any of the weather, but we're not silly. We've got imagination, and this is really so clever. I just love the fact that you can't really see the subject, and you've got this umbrella, and you can see the rain beating down, all the raindrops on there, and it tells such a fabulous story. And the composition is great. I love the texture on the ground and all that. So super image. Yes, it's not possibly not so much of the mood of the weather, but I saw it, I felt it, and I love this image. Well done.
Tony K, 4-star, Changing Sky, Gold Award.
Yeah, Tony, beautiful changing sky with sunrise or sunset. I'm not quite sure. I don't really care. It's just these fabulous colors in the sky, African sky. And I've only really seen it in this part of our country. I think that you could possibly improve on the score if you want to give it a border. There's no border strong enough to find the total image, but I would like to have seen a little bit more detail in the bottom. And I suggest that with a gradient filter, you can just drag it up and just bring in a wee bit of detail to ground the image, which then would fit this beautiful background being the sky and the clouds building up. I think it would have enhanced the image greatly. Nice presentation.
5-star, Waiting for the Rain, Silver.
Another great scenic image with the mountains in the background. Nice, strong leading going down with this rocky sort of donga gully, whatever you want to call it, going down to the willow trees and then down into the valley where the river is. How to improve on this? It's a bit difficult. You've got quite a lot of detail in those clouds already, and I think the image is as good as you're going to get, really, with this with the subject that you've got. And I think it stands out very well on its own as an image, but it's certainly, in spite of having the clouds there and fulfilling the brief, it does perhaps lose a little bit because the clouds are only a third of the image, and it's not really bringing a stronger kind of sense of something with the weather. But a great capture nonetheless. Well done.
Henry Opel, Master Silver, Storm Chaser, Gold Award.
This is unusual because the rocks look almost like molten rocks, and it's such an unusual, and I just love the colors. But yes, you are. I mean, this is really moody because you've got this beautiful sky. I'm not so sure if it's morning or afternoon, and you've got the same color and the same mood in your foreground with the water in the foreground, the water running over the rocks in there. So this mood of this weather and the colors is right in your face. So that is super, and that's well done. So yes, I like this image. Well done.
2-star, Sun-Kissed, Silver.
Yeah. So the story I think the author's trying to portray is that, weather, so it could be very sunny, a lot of sunburn, I don't know. But as far as the storytelling side is, that it doesn't help me to fit it into the category. That's the point I'm trying to make. As far as the technical detail is concerned, I think it's an interesting setup, composition. There's lots of detail. It's perfectly sharp. But I'm not quite able to place it in the weather. I know the title tells you it's sun-kissed, but that doesn't really help me place it. Maybe the black background, if that had been sea sand or something, or cool in the background, I don't know, something else other than as it is. But I think standing, as the previous comment was made, on its own, it stands quite well. So I would enter this in the open, and you probably find you get a far better result other than in the current set subject.
4-star, Predicting a Change in the Weather, Silver.
Oh, very interesting image. Very, very, very nice repetitive cloud patterns. And I know there are people that are able to tell you when they see a certain type of pattern of cloud that the weather is going to do this or it's going to do that. This change will be happening. I'm certainly not skilled in that field. But as I look at this image, I find it very pleasing. I think it's a great image. However, the only thing that sort of stands out is that very bright spot behind the silhouetted tree in the foreground. And perhaps if that were toned down a bit, it might improve the image. I think otherwise it does fulfill the brief, and well done for doing that, and a great effort.
That's the last one.